And then obviously Eric Steele was Sir Alex Ferguson's goalkeeping coach at Manchester United. If I need to talk goalkeeping, or if I'm facing a problem I've not faced before, I know I can just call Steely. Our video every training session gets filmed from 2 angles. So I'll film on a GoPro really close, and then the analyst will film it for me on a drone. Yeah, funnily enough, actually, when I was at Forest doing that, Patrick Bamford was in the under-18s, who I would later then go on and work with at Leeds United. His system and his style and his way and his methodology was just nothing like I'd ever experienced in football. As the finest of detail in every little thing that we did was like adhered to, and it just blew me away. Like, the plan was never to become a professional goalkeeping coach. And I'd not heard from Marcelo for months, and then he just dropped me a little voice note on WhatsApp to say, literally all he said was, Alessandro, good luck in Sunderland. That was literally it in Spanish. Right. But
hello and welcome back to my channel, and today's guest is Alessandro Barcherini, who is the head of goalkeeping at Sunderland Football Club. So as you'll probably know by now, I am a Sunderland fan, so I was really looking forward to this one and asking Sandro about what he kind of gets up to. Sandro's career today is quite a good one, actually. So he actually admitted that he never thought he would become a professional goalkeeping coach, which to see what he's gone on to so far is great to see. He worked at the university, university sport. He's worked at various different academies. He then went on to work with Leeds United and actually worked with Marcelo Bielsa, and I asked him about that. So that was really interesting. And then obviously now he's at Sunderland, where he oversees the whole goalkeeping department. So we talk about how important video analysis is to goalkeepers. I also asked him a few different questions on who he rates as the best goalkeepers, and also a quick fire around the current Sunderland squad. So really good conversation with Sandro. So before we get into it, I do want to quickly remind you, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button below. Helps the channel to grow and for me to kind of continue and get more guests just like Sandro. So as well as that, just below the video, there is a link to a completely free newsletter. Every single week I send you out a newsletter with some tips on the industry and also just kind of things going on within the sports world, basically, and kind of job tips, etc. So that's totally free, link down below. So without further ado, let's get into the conversation with Alessandro Barcherini. Sandro, welcome to the channel. How are you doing today, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. Really happy to have you on at the record show. We've been it's been a long time in the making. This, obviously, you're a busy man, you're hard to get hold of. So really appreciate that. So for those that don't know who you are, Sandro, if you want to just give a quick intro and what you're currently up to.
Yeah, so name's Alessandro Barcherini. My current role, I'm head of goalkeeping at Sunderland AFC. So I joined there last season, right at the very beginning of a championship year last year. So we're just preparing at the minute for a new season, just in pre-season at the moment. So I'm 1 year in. I'm 37 years old. Never really had a career to talk about, and then kind of fell into coaching, and here I am.
Yeah, perfect. So as obviously we'll go back in terms of how you kind of got to where you are. So as people know, if they watch this, obviously they know that Sunderland is the greatest club in the world. So a little bit of is from me here, Sandro. So in terms of, we mentioned obviously kind of busyness, obviously we're in pre-season at the moment, and just to kind of reiterate that, obviously you've been Sunderland obviously in the playoffs, so you've not probably had the greatest amount of time. So you've had obviously chance to have some holidays and stuff, and you're flying out tomorrow for pre-season tour in America, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's right. No kind of resting. So perfect. So I'm just actually thinking back to when I first kind of met you, Sandro. So I don't know if you how in terms of your memory, but it was the Notts County Women FA Cup final, which is the first time I met you, and then obviously throughout from that, then you had spells with the university, which we kind of still had involvement with. And then obviously, as you mentioned, Leeds, and then Sunderland now. So if we just go back then in terms of you played as well, didn't you, Sandro? So what level two, what age, whereabouts, and how did that go?
So my first year full time was 16. So signed scholarship forms with Notts County Football Club, who actually at the time I think it was 2 or 3 years before it was actually called the Championship, League One and League Two. So it would have been the old Division Two, which is now League One. So I did 2 years there as a scholar, got released, didn't get a new contract, went to play sort of college soccer, if you like, in America. Tried that out, didn't really work out for me. I'd say I wasn't the most academic 19-year-old. you've ever met. I came back and actually I went to university in England once I'd matured a little bit and just started playing non-league football really. So like I said, just no real professional career to shout about. And then just took a bit of an academic route once I'd grown up and matured and started coaching.
Yeah. Were you born in England or were you born in Italy?
I was born in Italy and my family moved to England in like the early 90s. So I said like my first sort of formative years was spent in Italy, and then I went to school in England. I didn't know English. I was young, 5-6 years old when I first come to England. So I learned to speak English at school, and now I've got a Nottingham accent and an Italian name.
To be fair, I didn't actually know that. So your English is really good. So you just learned it when you came. So that's cool. So in terms of, obviously, we spoke about the playing and stuff. So were you always a goalkeeper, Sandro, or were you one of them that kind of got pushed to it?
Yeah, I think
you weren't good enough out, or what's all that?
Do you know what it was? I think I enjoyed playing in goal as a kid, but I love playing up front. Like I think most goalkeepers do. So growing up, I probably played. I was trying to think. Like I didn't join an academy formally until I was 14, 15. So until then, I was just playing like schools football and Saturday football, and I'd dot about playing goal or play up front. Really, played as a right back for the year above at school, and you know what I mean. Like I just kind of just played football everywhere, and I think I wouldn't even say I enjoyed playing in goal, but I wouldn't say like I necessarily like. I always kind of wanted to play outfield.
Yeah,
it just never materialised for me, and that was that.
Perfect. So then, obviously, you mentioned uni. So, when you went to uni, did you kind of have a plan of what you wanted to do, or did you just wanted to know you wanted to work in sport? Because obviously, it wasn't. What was the course? Was sport, leisure, outdoor management was the undergrad? Was it? You did a master's as well in sports science. So, what was the thinking behind that? What did you have a plan in place at that point?
Like you said, I just knew I wanted to work in sport. I'd always been involved in sport as a kid, as a teenager and a young adult, and then I just thought, right, well, I'm going to do a sports course because I want to work in sport, with no real plan other than I thought maybe I could be a PE teacher. I was kind of going down that route, and then the more I was kind of doing the academic side, I kind of just on the side just started volunteer coaching. Just because I had a good background in football and in sport. So the plan was never to become a professional goalkeeping coach. I wouldn't. That was probably because I thought that wasn't that achievable either. So I didn't plan for it because I probably didn't think that would be real or realistic. I thought that a realistic aim would be a PE teacher or a sport development officer or someone who just works in sport in some capacity. So to go from that mindset to then actually be a professional football coach was just something I probably saw appear more realistic the longer I was the more I started coaching, the more I realized, I really love this and I'm pretty good at it, I think. And people were asking me if I'd like to come and coach there or here. So it became a thing, and then it all kind of took off.
Nice. So one thing I didn't know, which I kind of stumbled when I was doing a bit of stalking, a bit of research on you, Sandro, you've got a little internship, bit of analysis. Obviously, my background is analysis, so a lot of viewers are watching. So you did a bit of that at Forest. Was that when you were kind of interning and stuff?
Yeah. So I can't remember if it was my third year at uni or it was my first year on my master's in sports science, and there was an opportunity for me to go and work with the under-18s for a season at Nottingham Forest. So it was the under-16s and the under-18s. And it's I just that year just kind of voluntary going in, traveling with the 16s and 18s, filming the games, coding the games and that type of stuff. And that would have been maybe 2011. And funnily enough, actually, when I was at Forest doing that, Patrick Bamford was in the under-18s, who I would later then go on and work with at Leeds United. Fond memories, and they were just really good to me there at Forest. I think for as much as it was a voluntary work placement or internship, however you want to call it, they treated me really well, and I learned a lot.
Yeah, and would you say that's impacted how you kind of coach now? Because I've seen things that you put on LinkedIn and stuff in terms of, which are really cool, like the goalkeeper methodology, like little videos you do where you've got footage of the sessions that you do in the training ground, and then it kind of, you show like an example from the same kind of activity actually in a game. So in terms of how much does video and kind of video analysis play a part in your like current role now?
Oh, it's huge. I video every training session gets filmed from two angles. So I'll film on a GoPro really close, and then the analyst will film it for me on a drone. And then I'll use both footages to review just training before we even speak about like game footage and stats and data. I'd say I think video is, from my experience in football so far, video is probably, in terms of training anyway, a really underutilized tool. Just from my experiences, I find football coaches are, we talk a lot about, oh, he didn't play well, or he didn't perform well, or he didn't, and yet we won't review enough. We take it on what we felt on the day, or what we saw, or what we think we saw. And then it's really time consuming to go through the video. And actually, if you find a method that works for you, like, I'll be honest, like my training video footage, I'll skim through using QuickTime Player, where I'll just, on my Mac, just scrub through, take the bits I need, Command Y, chop it out. I find that's like the fastest way for me to work and actually watch training properly. And I think once you find a way that works, that's effective and efficient for you, where it's not actually that time consuming, you just find a way to get it in. I think it could be such a powerful tool. Like even little things like, I'll go through training and I'll just make a quick 2-minute video, and then bam, WhatsApp, send that to a player. So this is what I was talking about earlier in the session. I need you to think more about doing this in this scenario, or, I use it quite a lot. They probably think I use it too much, to be honest.
You've probably got a lot, like I say, you've probably got a lot of footage if you're doing two angles as well, especially for each training session. So that's really interesting. So then in terms of your coaching, so you're a licensed coach, right?
Yeah, so I've got the standard UEFA A license, and I've got the goalkeeping UEFA A license too.
Yeah, nice. So then if we just go back, we'll come back to kind of Sunderland, but if we go back to, so you spent a lot of time at Nottingham-Trent University. So I think, obviously, you were in a couple of roles there, weren't you? So you were, we got head of football coach, and then obviously head of football. So you're working with goalkeepers at that age. And I think what surprised me, to be fair, was when before like as a company, we work with kind of university teams and sports. I don't think people sometimes realise the standard that it's at as well, and how serious they take it at that level, because Trent weren't a bad team at all. Like they were quite decent in the rankings of the men's football, weren't they? So just kind of, in terms of the standard there, but you're working at that level of that age group, which even when you were at Leeds with Melier, young goalkeeper in the first team, and obviously at Sunderland, so you're kind of used to working with that kind of younger goalkeeper?
Yeah, definitely. I think the role at Nottingham-Trent Uni as head of football was, if we rewind to maybe like, I think I took that role in 2014, maybe 2014, 2015. And rewind to maybe like 2011 is when I kind of started coaching there on just a part-time contract, coaching the men's first team. And I think it's quite if you're a young coach, university football is a really, really good way to get loads of hours on the grass and get it wrong a lot. So when I first started coaching, I was coaching in a way that I'd been coached, and I was doing my coaching badges at the same time. And so I did what I felt was the what I considered to be the right way to coach, when in reality, like, everyone does it so differently. And when the university asked me to they created this full-time role as head of football. So I was no longer just coaching the men's first team. I was looking after the men's side, the women's side, the futsal, then a partnership with Notts County Ladies, which is where we met. It just opened up a lot for me, really. And I was coaching, like probably 2 to 3 sessions a day, like six days a week. And I was just building loads and loads of hours of practice for myself. So when it first started, I wasn't a goalkeeping coach. I was just a football coach. But because I played in goal, I'd say that's my area of expertise. And then Notts County's under 18s asked me if I'd be interested in working with the goalkeepers, and the goalkeeping side took off from there in maybe 2014, 2015.
Yeah. So at what point did you get your specific goalkeeper coaching license? Like, when did you get that?
I started with the goalkeeping level 2, because you can jump straight onto that, and that would have been maybe 2014.
Yeah.
It's not even 10 years ago.
Yeah. Cool. So we've done Trent, we've done Notts County, you mentioned, then you were at Stoke for a year as well. So similar kind of thing, academy goalkeeper coach there?
Yeah, I was head of academy goalkeeping there. And I'd say that's the first time when I actually started to work with what I would consider to be, and this is no disrespect to the goalkeepers in the academy elsewhere, but that higher caliber of goalkeeper. Because we had Nathan Broom, who was England under 17s. We had Joseph Bursick, who was England under 19s at the time. Jack Butland was in the first team, and he was playing for England at the time. And that was my first role, where I was kind of like, okay, like this is my career now. This is looking like it's going to be my career.
Yeah.
And I was only there for 12 months. It was a bit of a whirlwind to go from university football to Notts County to Stoke. And that had happened literally I left the uni in 2017 to join to join Notts County full time for a year. Then in 2018, I'd gone to Stoke. So I'd gone the uni, Notts County, Stoke in sort of 12 to 18 months. It was a bit mad, to be honest.
Yeah. So during that time, and even now, Sandro, is there anyone that sticks out that you would say is kind of a bit of a role model, that you've learned from, the coaches that you've had that you kind of, take inspiration from?
Yeah, definitely. I think my first sort of one, I'd say, really, really helped me a lot. It was two coaches, Mick Halsall and Paul Hart. They were the ones who actually offered me my first role at Notts County.
Yeah.
And obviously Paul Hart had a lot of success in sort of the 2000s with Nottingham Forest and bringing players through into the first team there. Mickey Halsall, he played at a variety of clubs, and they were, for me, as I was in my 20s at the time. So, they were two guys who kind of looked at me and then probably had every right to be like, no, we need someone with a bit more experience to do this type of job. And they went with me. So I'd say they gave me that first opportunity on the coaching ladder, if you like, at a professional football club. And then going to Stoke, Andy Quay was the first team goalkeeping coach and in a head of goalkeeping capacity. And Andy was brilliant with me, kind of just, every day just kind of was a great tutor for me and a bit of a mentor. And then from the back of working with Andy, and Andy gave me my first exposure of working with Jack Butland and Adam Federici, Jakub Haugaard. He would let me go in and coach a session for the first team in the championship. And I was without Andy, I wouldn't have got that exposure to that level so soon. And then I'd say, so I've got Paul, I've got Mick, I've got Andy, and then I was really, really lucky on all my coaching badges. I had Eric Steele, who at the time was working with the FA. And then obviously Eric Steele was Sir Alex Ferguson's goalkeeping coach at Manchester United. And all the way through, Eric's just been, if I need to get some advice or, just talk goalkeeping, or if I'm facing a problem I've not faced before, I know I can just call Steely and he'll just give me his complete honesty and help and guidance. I feel really, really fortunate in that sense.
Perfect. So moving on to Leeds United then. So obviously that was quite a. So what did you start with the academy there then, Sandro?
Yeah, kind of. It was a bit of a mad one. Doing my UEFA A license, I met a guy called Adam Underwood. Adam was the academy director at Leeds United, so we did that course together.
Yeah, we
kind of just hit it off and just exchanged contact details, and. Yeah, we I wouldn't say we kept in touch loads over that time, but another guy was on that course, Darren Arnott. He was working with the under-21s at Leeds, and basically Darren and Adam got in touch with me that sort of off season 2019 in that summer, and just said, we're at Leeds. The model here is very different. Marcelo Bielsa was obviously the manager. They just lost in the playoffs. In the semi-final that year, and they wanted two goalkeeping coaches. They had one already, Marcos Abad, and and Marcos wanted someone to be like almost like a work with the academy every day, but be on the grass with him with the first team goalies and sort of like a double act, if you like. And that went in. I had a chat. I met the staff. It was just a little bit like, again, 2 years ago I was working at uni, and now I'm about to get a job at Leeds United working for Marcelo Bielsa. It was a bit crazy. They offered me the job sort of there and then, and it all got done. And I went in, and that year was working between the academy, where mainly I was with the under 18s and under 23s. But then as the year went on, I sort of transitioned more to just working with the first team every day. And then that was the year we won the championship and got promoted to the Premier League. And my role sort of evolved into this first team assistant coach with the goalkeepers. At the same time, I was head of academy goalkeeping, looking after the program from under 9s all the way through to under 23. So it was tough. It was a lot of work, splitting myself across all those facets, but it was well worth it.
I mean, I probably got to ask you what it was like working with Bielsa. I mean, what kind of a chap was he? Was he probably quite intense and quite hard work?
He was. When I look back now, and I just think, for the first time ever in my, what I would say is still a short career now, it's the first time I'd ever seen football in a different way. So you do all your courses and you go and you do your badges, and like his system and his style and his way and his methodology was just nothing like I'd ever experienced in football as a fan or as a player or as a coach or any of it. And I was just a little bit like, oof, this is like the finest of detail in every little thing that we did was like adhered to, and it just blew me away. Like, don't get me wrong, there was good days and bad days because of how intense it was. But before I arrived at Leeds United, I thought I worked really hard, and then I arrived at Leeds United, and I think I saw what hard work really was.
I was going to say it probably made you go up a notch, like knowing,
completely. I genuinely think if I didn't have that experience working at Leeds and working in Marcelo's regime, I wouldn't be I wouldn't go into the level of detail I go into now as a coach, with the video, with the methodology, with the training, with the meetings, with the way I see the game. Is like I now compared to before Leeds is completely different. Like, and I've got a lot of, I'm just super grateful for the whole opportunity, really. Like he actually, like even little things like when obviously he left and when Marcelo left, it was a sad day, like the team wasn't performing, the club made a decision, but just the level of, I suppose, integrity that he showed in saying goodbye to everybody and the way that he did it. And even when I'd got the job, obviously he'd left Leeds and Jesse Marsh came in, and then for the last season I'd left and gone to Sunderland, and I'd not heard from Marcelo for months, and then he just dropped me a little voice note on WhatsApp to say, literally all he said was, Alessandro, good luck in Sunderland. That was literally it in Spanish. Right. But even those little moments there where you just go like, wow, like I'm just really fortunate to have been able to work with what a lot of people consider to be one of the best, if not the best coaches in the world ever. I was just like, what? That's crazy.
Like I said, straight kind of uni 2 years before, and then you're working with one of the best ever. So that's I'm sure you did learn a lot. So then from Leeds, obviously we get to Sunderland. So how did that come about? Did you just apply for the job, or were you looking for kind of a change at that point, or?
No, it was a bit mad, really. Like it was pre-season with Leeds United. I was on the team bus on my way to play Liverpool away, and I just got a phone call. I did from a number I didn't know, and it was somebody at Sunderland Football Club, just to say, they'd be interested in speaking to me. At this point, I was a little bit like, okay, well, I've done 3 years at Leeds. I was probably in the mindset where I was ready to go and be the head goalkeeping coach, as opposed to with the academy or as an assistant with the first team. So yeah, that was it really. It was just a phone call, and I just kind of, someone had put a recommendation in, and they sort of like chased that up. We met, it went well, and then they offered me the job.
Mm. So.
It was pretty, yeah, just another one where it's a little bit like, oh, all right, we'll go on this little adventure now. It was a bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. So in terms of then the current goalkeepers at Sunderland, then, so what kind of how are you how do you think the department currently is? Like, do you have much to do with the academy now? Then, well, you're head of goalkeeping, aren't you? So I presume you do. So,
Mm.
so
So
what's your relationship with like the academy goalkeeper coaches, and then obviously the younger keepers as well?
it's really good. It's so I meet with them every day, the
Mm.
academy goalkeeping coaches, and the way we kind of structure it is there's only, in the men's side, the women's have a full-time goalkeeping coach. Then in the men's side, obviously I do the first team,
Yeah.
and then we have Mark Prudhoe, who's been at Sunderland for a good 14 years now, and he's a local guy.
Mm.
He was in situ when with the academy when Jordan Pickford came
Yeah.
through Mark Prudhoe, and now we've got Anthony Patterson, who's a local lad who's
Mm.
playing for the first team as well. They're a product of Mark Prudhoe. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just fortunate enough to be here working with Pat, who's performing, but Pruds has put so much work into the academy, and every goalkeeper that comes through, you wouldn't even say they're all the same and all the same style, but what they all do have is this amazing personality and
Yeah.
character, which
Mm.
I think Pruds really, really instills into them, as well as really good solid basics.
Mm.
And then it's sort of my job to kind of, I suppose, fine tune that, if you like. But a lot of the groundwork's already been laid.
Yeah.
And then we've got Johnny Maddison, who he was an ex-Sunderland goalkeeper. He's only late 20s now, like 29. He was
Mm.
actually number 3 goalkeeper at Leicester when they got promoted to the Premier League.
Wow.
He's decided to not play anymore and just focus on coaching. So I've got Johnny, who's a little bit younger than me, Pruds, who's older than me, and between the three of us, we've got a really good grip on what it looks like from under 8s, I suppose, pre-academy, right the way through to the first team.
Mm.
Even where, like, say, yesterday's a great example. Yesterday, I can pull Pruds and Johnny in, just say, right, I want to do like a carousel type practice where we've got 6 goalies from under 18s to first team,
Yeah.
and we do 15-minute blocks, and they'll come and coach with me. It's not like it's exclusively like my sort of thing. I trust them. They deliver good stuff, and we work as there's days like yesterday where we can just work as a 3 on the grass.
Yeah.
But those 2 predominantly do the academy, the younger teams, and the under 18s and the under 21s now, and I just kind of can focus on the first team stuff, and especially the pathway and bringing through from under 18s, 21s, and into the first team, just trying to create that pathway where goalkeepers have an opportunity to be exposed to first team environments more than maybe other clubs, I think.
Yeah. In terms of that exposure, then how important do you think like kind of going out on loan is? You weren't there when, because obviously Anthony Patterson went out on loan. He was on loan at Notts County, so
Yeah.
obviously did him really well. He's improved loads. So like what do you how important do you feel that is in the development of a young goalkeeper? Because obviously it's tough when they're not fully, they're a bit smaller at that point. They're not kind of getting used to the intensity of a first team football.
Yeah, I think the loan system can be used in so many different ways. You can send a goalkeeper on loan to let them experience the senior changing room environment and game day. You can send them on loan because they need minutes, and then you can also keep them in house. So, like for Leeds United, for example, we didn't send goalkeepers on loan; we kept them in.
Yeah.
And the number 1 played for the first team. The number 2 played for the under 23s. The number 3 played for the under 18s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they got their minutes that way. So I think it all depends on your program. And I know for the clubs that like they I suppose they retain more goalkeepers on their books, it's really important for them to go out on loan because the pathway gets clogged up.
Yeah.
So goalkeepers need to go and find their minutes somewhere in the football pyramid. I think if we relate it back to Anthony Patterson, he went on loan at the right time in his career. He played so many games in the under 18s and under 23s, and I'd come up against Pat my time at Stoke and at Leeds.
Yeah.
So I already knew who he was, and I knew from 16 years old, Pat was racking up a lot of game time
Yeah.
In like, we'll call it the professional development phase. His next challenge was to go on loan because he wasn't quite ready, whether that's the word, or there was other goalkeepers there who they thought were better, and to get his game time, he went on loan. And I think, depending on your pathway, it just all depends how you use the loan system, really. I think my personal belief is the more games of football you can play, the better, not just goalkeeper, the better player you're going to be. The more experience you can gain of playing match minutes as opposed to just training, then the better chance you've got of having, a good career and finding your level and having some form of longevity in the game.
Yeah, definitely. So then if we just go back to kind of analysis, you mentioned the video that you collect, you're filming all the training sessions. Can you speak a little bit about, so let's say, before the next game, what preparation would you do with the goalkeepers? I know you've obviously got the analysts at the club and stuff, but what role do you play in that, in terms of, are you taking a lead on certain things, or are you sitting down and focusing on specifics with the goalkeepers, and how does that kind of look in match preparation?
So in terms of match prep, I also have a role in defending set plays. So that's where I'll lean on the analyst a lot more. So for defending set plays, the analyst will actually produce a video that would be maybe around 9 minutes long, which I'll chop down into 1 minute 30. But I think, like, for me personally, there's probably a faster way to do it. But I feel as if I'm not the one who's sitting down and really scrutinizing it and looking through it, then, because it's, I'm attaching my name to that piece of work. If I'm the one who's got to give the players the information, then I want to feel really comfortable in delivering that information rather than get it from the analyst and hear it secondhand and then deliver that. Do you know what I mean? So I probably take more time than I need to say that you might only face one corner a game. But yeah, again, I probably relate that down to my time at Leeds, where, like, I don't want to leave that to chance. Like, it could be that little bit of info that saves you 3 points. And then in terms of the goalkeepers, I will do that on my own. So in fact, I won't do it on my own. The analysts provide me with the penalty information. And if there's something they feel I really need to look at in the penalties, then I'll go and look at that. But for the most part, it's a lot of, so that is a big bulk of your week, just to focus on something that only happened to us 3 times last season. What I do focus on is how the oppositions build their attack, how they score their goals, and how they press. And so what I'll do is I'll download every goal that team has scored that season, and then categorize it into the methodology by which we work. And then I'll show the goalkeepers 2 days before the game. So match day -2 and match day -1 is all geared around what we do face to face the next opposition. So, for example, last season, if we were facing a team that crossed the ball a lot, and had success, then that would be what we worked on. But then the detail would be more. So, for example, if 75% of their goals came from crosses from the left-hand side from a right-footed winger who used to, cut in and whip one, then we'd practice that element. We wouldn't just practice crossing. We're playing teams like Millwall. We know we're going to be in for a high contact aerial type of game. We'll practice aerial balls under high contact. But that is me downloading the clips, chopping them up, categorizing them, then building that into a 3-minute video to show the goalkeepers back as a rationale as to why we're doing what we're doing over the next 2 days. And more often than not, that's what we had to deal with in games come the game day. So I just felt like that was the best way to prepare the goalkeepers and give them the best chance of success on the day.
So you touched a little bit on there, Sandro. So if we focus on, let's just say it's just, I know most weeks have 2 games, but if it's a Saturday game, what are you doing like Monday, and what are you doing for, like, how is the week structured? You mentioned game day -2, you sit with them, but what does the rest of the week look like?
I think it's better to probably work backwards from the game day. So obviously if game day was Saturday, working back into Friday, I'd do a 20-minute training session with the goalkeepers, and it would just be concentrating on 2 to possibly 3 elements max that I think they're going to face on game day. And we'd do a really short, sharp, intense technical session based upon those 3 things, which could jump. It could be that the opposition have lots of success from angled finish from outside the width of the 6-yard box through bodies. We do that for 5-10 minutes tops, and then we jump onto the next one, because that next one might be defending set plays. So we do high contact aerial load in the 6-yard box. So that could look different on any match day -1. I don't keep a blanket session. Match day -2 would be a 45-minute session where it'd be more tactical element, focusing on those 3 things, maybe more in depth. Rather than just little technical snapshots. We go like tactical. The session would be a little bit more drawn out. Physically, we might focus a little bit more on power within that session. So we'd go like physical power and then tactical elements that they'd face for game day. And then both days they do a primer in the gym the day before the game, and then 2 days before the game might be an upper body strength session. Our model's a traditional model, so we'd have the Wednesday off. Tuesday, again, traditional model, we might even do a double session, or if it's a single, we focus on lower body strength, maybe even a little bit more lower body power. So they've got that recovery day on the Wednesday. And then training session wise would be a little bit more drawn out to an hour. So you could start it with a technical, and then I'd usually use 4 goalies on a Tuesday over bigger distances. So they're getting a little bit more physical hit, but within a tactical session. Monday's your reintroduction to the week. That could look like a fun little activation game to get them going. A tight little technical session after the Sunday. They'd have the Sunday off, so coming back in off the day off after a day off I'll reduce the distances, make sure that the quality is a bit crisper. If the goalie might be a little bit stiff from Saturday, and use Monday more of a feel good technical reintro with a few games maybe put in there. And just really reduce my distances and session size, just to make everything quite sharp and punchy and get you feeling good to start the week. And then the Sunday would just be the off day from the Saturday game.
So the match day then, what does that look like for you? Because again, you've mentioned you take a lead on the defending set play. So is there a presentation before the game? Is that done? Do you have anything to do with that, or how does the kind of full match day look?
So the match day for me is the players will arrive usually an hour and 30, an hour and 45. Some start to roll in, but 1 hour and 15 minutes before kickoff. 1 hour and 30 minutes before kickoff, they'll go into a quick brief with the manager, into defending set plays with me. So that's if we're at home, we'll do that in a changing room, and then if we're away, we'll do it in a team hotel. So typically, it's me and another coach he does the attacking set plays. Us two kind of have like the final meeting with the players before we actually go on the pitch and warm up. So they'll get that information just so it's fresh. We'll have practiced it the day before, but they'll get a really short, sharp, punchy 1-minute video to give them the real detail of what we want out of today. And then in terms of an hour before kickoff, I will go out onto the pitch with the number 2 and the number 3 goalkeeper. We'll just do like 10 minutes work. And that's kind of their time during the week where they actually practice their distribution. And people see it as a match day warm up, but I see it as another training session. The number 2 and the number 3 very rarely get on the pitch and play. So we maximize that 10-15 minute slot as just working on the repetitive ball striking action. And then the number 1 goalkeeper comes out at 10 past, does 5 minutes, jog, stretch. He joins us at 15:15. Then we do his match day warm up. Off the back of him going inside, I'll take the subs for a little bit of finishing with the number 3 goalkeeper. The number 2 goalkeeper jumps in goal. We do some patterns to goal. And then back in, make sure that I've got, at that point, the team sheets will have been in. I've already got my set play hierarchy. So the analysts will just make sure that's all on the iPad for me ready. And then I just take control of the iPad during the game. So any tactical substitutions that we make, I'm just responsible for making sure that the substitute that's coming onto the pitch knows their role tactically from a set piece perspective, and any information we have to get on the pitch, he can be my voice to pass that on. Which can be chaos, especially more so now that you can make 5 subs. So back in the 3 sub days, that wasn't too hard. Now you can make 5 subs, you can make 3 changes at once, you can make 4 changes at once, and it's like that can be a bit chaotic sometimes. And I think you just got to make sure that your communication's really clear and concise, and there's no grey. And I just, what the last thing I want to do is overload a footballer with lots of information before he's about to step onto a pitch in front of 45,000 people. So it's just making, you got foreign players who might not understand the language as well, and it's a test of your communication skills for sure.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned there obviously the big crowds, and so obviously you had it at Leeds as well. But what's it like working for a club like Sunderland and Sandro? What's the area like? How the buzz around the place when they're doing well? How have you found that?
I'll tell you what, like I'm so lucky. I've gone from Leeds to Sunderland, and the fan bases are just incredible. Like both are really, really similar in terms of they both travel really well away from home.
Yeah.
So the away games are just as good as playing at home. Like I was lucky enough. Like obviously we played in my last year at Leeds, we played Fulham away in the Carabao Cup. We won on penalties, and I think there was like 6,000 Leeds fans in the away end, and they were just drowned out the Fulham fans. And then last season we played Fulham away
FA Cup
in the FA Cup, and it was exactly the same. It's got its pros and cons. The fans expect a lot, so, and they'll let you know if they're not happy. That they're the ones parting with their money every week to come and support and watch the team, and if they're not happy, then that can be tough sometimes. But for the most part, I think the majority of fans at both of the clubs, the last two clubs I've been at, have just been incredible. Like here in Ellen Road, sold out, like so loud. Like even like it's just a shame we couldn't get promoted with a crowd in the stadium. But the second season in the Premier League, when we actually stayed up, you've got games like Norwich at home where Joe Gellart scores the winner in the last minute, and the place just goes wild. Like it's and it's the same at Sunderland when Amad Diallo scores his free kick in the playoff semi-final. That
was decent.
And the place I've never heard it so loud. And I'm really, really lucky to work for the last two clubs where the fan base has just been outstanding, like incredible.
Yeah, perfect. So obviously with the goalkeeper topic and your background, Sandro, I want to ask you your three best goalkeepers of all time. Go on, you gotta stick your neck out and give me your three best goalkeepers of all time.
Oh, that's so tough. Just three. I've got so many that I like. Obviously, I grew up in an Italian home, so do I have to give you just three? I can name so many. Dino Zoff was like the first goalie I was ever introduced to. Like in my house, he has like legendary status. So like my dad literally rammed the video cassettes down my throat of Italy winning the World Cup in 1982. So Dino Zoff's definitely in there. It has like Gianluigi Buffon is 100% in there.
Yeah,
because obviously like he's still playing now. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think he made his debut in 96, 97, and he's still playing. Like, that alone gives him legendary status, never mind the World Cups and the titles and everything else. And then the third one would have to be really tough, because I really loved watching Schmeichel as a kid. Growing up when my family moved to England and growing up and watching the Premier League, Schmeichel was the one who I just enjoyed watching the most. So if I kind of like an off the cuff answer, I'd say those three, but there's so many that I just get nostalgia about, where I'm like, oh, he was incredible, or he was like Sebastiano Rossi. I don't know if you know the name, like AC Milan, late 80s, early 90s, and when Milan won the Champions League 3 times in a row, he was the goalkeeper but never got capped for Italy. And there's goalkeepers like that. I had a poster of him on my wall. It was like,
who's your team? Who's your Italian team? Who do you like from? Who's your favorite team?
Roma, or like the family of Roma fans. Yeah, well, mixed in. There's a few Juve fans, but following Juve in Italy is like following Man United in England. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can be from anywhere and support Juve, but my family are sort of 45 minutes north of Rome, and the majority of us are, say, Roma fans.
Nice. Right. So before I let you go, Sandro, I just got a quick, based on just to learn a little bit more about the Sunderland players in the current squad. So I'm just going to go through, ask you kind of quick fire questions. Who's each of these little things? So should be pretty simple, but curious to see what you say. So in terms of the fastest player in obviously the current squad, Sunderland squad, fastest player.
Oh, quickest player. Who's that? I'm trying to think now. See, Jack Clark's pretty quick. He's fast with the ball. I wouldn't say he's quick because he needs to run in behind a little bit more. I just don't know if I'm taking that away from someone. Have I forgot someone? I'd say Clarkey.
Most skillful?
Most skillful. Patrick Roberts. Yeah,
it's got to be. The hardest.
The hardest. It was tough. Anthony Patterson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dark horse. Hard as nails.
Yeah. Biggest moaner.
Jack Clark.
Best trainer.
Luke O'Neill.
Funniest.
Who's got a bit of banter?
No one by the sounds of it.
Yeah, to be fair, the banter's not great. The banter's not good. I'll pass on that one.
Pass on that one. And then two more. The most intelligent.
To be fair, Ross Stewart's pretty clever.
Ross Stewart, okay.
And then, he's pretty intelligent.
And then the opposite, the least intelligent. Who are you going to push?
Dan Neil. Without a doubt.
I can see that too. Fair. So that's perfect. So no, that's brilliant, Sandro. One thing I do like to quickly ask every guest is, do you have, and maybe not, I don't know if you're a reader or a podcast listener, but it doesn't have to be sport, anything that you kind of consume content wise that you feel you want to share, that you think you've learned from or that people might find useful?
Yeah, I think like probably books. I'm more of a book reader. I like to read books more around like just informative type books. I'm not like a fiction reader or anything like that. I can't handle that stuff. So I'd probably say like the better books that I've read over the last few years that have kind of made me think as a coach, like probably like Sports Gene by David Epstein. Basically, and then the counter argument of that one was Bounce by Matthew Syed. So basically, Sports Gene is, without genetics, you can't play certain sports, and Bounce is without purposeful practice, you can't get good at them. And I think that it lies somewhere in between both of those books. But I do believe that when I look at it purely from a goalkeeping perspective, there's certain things genetically that will determine how effective you can be in a position. And then there's certain things you can really practice and get better at. And I suppose, again, just referring back to my time at Leeds and the methodology and the way that we worked was literally, it was the power of repetition. We practiced things that happened in the game, like specialists to your position, over and over and over. And what I saw in 3 years was players get better. And so I believe in purposeful practice. And I say to my goalkeepers all the time, like, I'm not here to give you like what you want. I'm here to give you what you need. And you might not like it because usually people like to practice things that they're good at because it makes them feel good. When actually I'm here to help you practice things that you're not very good at to make you good at them. And hopefully that will raise your I just think, if your minimum level, the bar is raised, then it gives you a base to go and be great from. And I think those two books are just good reads for football coaches, I think.
Yeah, perfect. I'll link them down below. So you mentioned you're off to America tomorrow. There's a few games over there, isn't there? Then obviously back, and I think you've got in Mallorca in the friendly as well.
So that's at home now. So we play 3 games out in America, one in Texas, one in Albuquerque, and one in North Carolina. So we're sort of flying all over and then fly back, play Mallorca, play Hartlepool, and then Ipswich at home, first game of the season.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I don't know if I'm going to be up for the Ipswich. I might try and get up for the second one. So I'll look out for you then, Sandro. So appreciate your time.
Nice one.
So it's been really insightful. Thanks very much. Have a safe trip, America and stuff, and good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck in the season.
Thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. So thank you.
No problem. Cheers, Sandro. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.
See you in a bit.